Welcome back to Cosmic Comics. Spawn, issue number 6, was published in 1992. This issue is dedicated to Stan Lee of Marvel fame. Story, pencils, and inks by Todd McFarlane. Tom Warzachowski picks up an editor credit while Terry Fitzgerald switches over from editor to story consultant. Color is once again brought to us by Steve Olive, Ruben Rude, and Ollie Optics. Payback Part 1 begins on the Italian island of Sicily. A multinational corporation refused to deal with the Mafia, so the Mafia decided to send a message in the form of what looks to be a massive terrorist attack. All of this destruction is the work of one man, Overt-Kill, but some call him Overkill. I have to address the name real quick. For whatever reason, Todd McFarlane attempted to try out the name Overkill. I am not certain how many times it showed up in print, but since the name Overkill was already in use over at Marvel Comics, the big guy remains Overt-Kill. Having to rename characters because their original name was already in use by a different property seemed to be a recurring problem at Image during their first year. The point of this scene is to establish Overt-Kill's dominance before we see him face off against Spawn. We see him taking down buildings, bouncing bullets off his hands, and tearing through the Italian military. He's a one-man walking tank. On top of all that, he always follows orders and does his job with a smile. Overt-Kill is the perfect hitman. As he's leaving his latest hit, he runs across a sizable military resistance. The force that stands before him is prepared to fire a weapon that can level 2 city blocks in an attempt to stop Overt-Kill. This massive cannon is nicknamed the Silver God, but Overt-Kill leaps into the air and onto the machine, destroying it in the process. Thousands of miles away, 2 members of the American Mafia are looking for information on who has been ripping the hearts out of Mafia members' chests. Jerry has the scoop on a new loner who has been hanging out with a bunch of old men over on 42nd Street. Jerry has just ratted out Spawn for crimes he didn't commit. Violator is the one who has been attacking the Mafia. Once the Mafia men get the information they need, they kill Freddy and report back to their boss. Back in the boss's office, they wonder why the guy is homeless. The boss is Mafia Don Vito Gravano, a.k.a. Antonio Twist, a.k.a. Don Dracula, and I'll take care of those introductions once they show up in the story. The boss puts out a hit on Spawn and asks his boys to take him out quickly and quietly. It's not just the boss that wants this job complete, but all the Dons in the city. The boss wraps up by telling them to make him suffer, then bring him his heart. It's worth noting that they don't know who or what they are hunting. They don't even have a name. Back in the alley, we get a somewhat touching scene. One of the men wants to know why Spawn always keeps to himself and assures him that none of them mean him any harm. Another speaks up to say that they don't care who he's running from. All of them have secrets and horrible stories. These fellows are more concerned with surviving than what you did last week or 20 years ago. In the here and now, the least they can do is give each other some company. He finishes by letting Al know he doesn't care about his history or his costume. He just wants to let him know that he's welcome here. Don't be afraid of us. Al is shocked by their trust and generous offer. For the first time, he sees that this is a community, and he's walked into their house, and as long as he's here, he needs to learn to live by their rules. Spawn offers to share a story with the group, and we get a necrometer reading of 8092. The story Al tells is a one-page recap of Wanda and Terry's happy life together. In what is now her 3rd appearance, we are told the name of their daughter, Cyan. Being a pepper grower, I always want to say Cayenne, but I'm pretty sure Cyan is correct. The Mafia guys arrive at the ghetto behind the Port Authority bus terminal. This is the area where Freddy said they could find the guy. As they move through the area, they are indiscriminately murdering any homeless man they run across. After killing 5 men, Spawn arrives. As the 2 men walk away, they are having a nonchalant conversation about picking up some prostitutes after they finish their hit. One of them is dead before they know what hit them. Of the one still living, Spawn demands to know who is after him and why. The next morning, 2 felons and 5 homeless men are found dead in an alley. That night, The boss holds a meeting of the Dons. They agree that it's time to escalate things, to ensure their unknown enemy is taken out. The boss has called the family back in the mother country, his Italian connection, the great Don Bartino. He wants him to send over a special agent to help. He then puts the hit to a vote, and all unanimously agree to call a hit on Spawn. The boss lets everybody know that he placed the order in advance, and Overkill will arrive soon. As of right now, Overkill assumes he's hunting a young blood, and Overkill is still looking for revenge from a defeat several years prior. Overkill is so big that he can't fit through the door, so he comes through the wall. I absolutely love the cookie-cutter, cartoonish shaped hole left in the wall. In order to get Spawn's attention, another member of the homeless community is murdered. In response, Spawn takes the Mafia up on having a meeting that he knows is a trap. Al attempts to use his costume to his advantage, posturing to look as fearsome as possible upon arrival. Overkill bursts forth from somewhere, calling Spawn the American. It's a humorous start to the battle. Spawn tells Overkill that he's not clear what the problem is. The only reason he's here is to stop the killing of all the homeless people. Spawn closes out by calling Overkill stupid. This makes Overkill angry enough to strike out. He grabs Spawn's cloak and tosses him into a pile of crates. As Spawn rises to his feet, he points out that he's going to be more of a challenge than a drunk hobo. Maybe Overkill is afraid of somebody who can fight back. Spawn's chains wrap around Overkill's throat. This is the first time we see any part of his costume used as a weapon. Overkill mocks the chains, choking him before bursting out laughing. As Overkill leaps atop Spawn, we see that Al realizes that his chain struck out without him using any of his power. So this is also the first time we knowingly see the costume sort of act of its own mind. Overkill prepares to rip Spawn's head off by crushing it between two massive gears, but Spawn gets too wiggly on him, and so an angry Overkill throws a punch towards Spawn's face. Spawn ducks to miss the blow, and Overkill's arm goes crunching into the giant gears. This mangles Overkill's arm, but he seems unfazed as he separates the gears and turns towards Spawn with a smile. Overkill shows off his confidence by breaking his arm off below the elbow and letting Spawn know that this will make the fight more interesting. I always think of this as Overkill bragging that he can beat Spawn with one hand tied behind his back. Spawn recognizes that Overkill is a cyborg, but Overkill is the most advanced one he's ever seen. We'll see Al Simmons fighting some cyborgs prior to his dying when I cover Youngblood Strike File number 1. While Spawn is taking it all in, Overkill uses his good hand to land a solid right hook on Spawn. Overkill lets on that he still thinks he's fighting a Youngblood, and he belittles Spawn for being a weak team member. Overkill finally sort of lets Spawn know why he's there. Overkill wants to see proof that Spawn is capable of ripping men's hearts out. As of right now, he thinks this guy is too weak. As Overkill continues to press the attack, choking Spawn with his own chains and demanding a fight, Spawn stops fighting back. Overkill continues to beat away and punch at Spawn, disappointed that he can't get a reaction. When Overkill has had enough, he decides that it's time to kill Spawn with a pulverizing blow. Overkill is confident in his success, and thus turns to leave, complaining that this job was nothing but a waste for a resource like him, and it should have been handled by the local muscle. We see that Spawn hasn't perished. Spawn is confused as to why Overkill didn't finish him off, and wonders if Overkill might have sensors in his arm that sense life. Maybe they were broken, or maybe Spawn doesn't register on them. Spawn's right arm is broken. He was hoping not to have to use any more power, but knows that that's not a possibility as he expends some to heal his arm. Still wanting to conserve as much of his energy as possible, Spawn decides that it's time to take a different approach. Instead of using his powers, he's going to start relying on the skills and resources he had access to before he died. Spawn is tired of being pushed around as he breaks into a United States Army site. Spawn has come to an armory or safe house where he is collecting an arsenal. Spawn now looks ready to take on the Mafia. The showdown between Overkill, Spawn, and the Mafia heats up next issue and draws to a temporary conclusion. Hey, remember to hit that like button before you go. Hit subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. And this is Cosmic Comics. I'm out.